Welcome back to the homestead. So this jumble of wires and mess, electronic mess, is the guts that will be my automatic chicken coop door opener. So obviously it's here in my workshop, my grow room, and it's not out in the chicken coop, so I haven't wired it up yet. I will definitely record footage of it working outside with the actual door, but before I brought it outside, I wanted to just talk about what I've done. Now, I followed a tutorial that I'll include in the description below. So if you're wondering how to set this up yourself, follow their directions because they provide wiring diagrams, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into those super fine details. So what have I done here? So this is pretty straightforward. So the door is going to open and close guillotine style via this linear actuator. So a linear actuator works by when a current runs through the motor, it extends, and if the current is switched, the polarity changes. It gets brought back in, and I'll actually show you that. Right now. So what I'm doing is clicking the timer that would control when it's closing. So the arm of the actuator extends, and then when I want it to open back up, the timer will pull the door up. So you'll see this when I actually install it in the coop, but I want to talk about it and what all this is and what's going on here. So linear actuator is the thing that's actually creating the motion to open and close the door. Now, like I said, that works. That opening and closing motion is controlled by the polarity. And switching of the polarity is controlled by this relay here. And the wires that go into the relay are two different timers. One that controls when it's going to open and when it's going to close. And you can set these for time of day. And I believe these particular ones do, a full week that you can program. And the power going into these timers is actually coming from just a 12-volt, 6-amp power supply. And per the directions, the tutorial that I've followed, I installed an inline fuse, just in case. Because this is going outside. I'm going to eventually kind of contain this in some kind of plastic container and keep it safe. But the coop, it will be indoor, and the coop is out of the elements, so I'm not too concerned. And we're not talking about, too much dangerous stuff going on here. So that's all you need, the components in terms of hooking it up. So again, one timer. This would close the coop, so this would be set in the evening. And this would be time set in the morning to open it. Pretty straightforward. I got every single one of these components on Amazon. I'll provide all the links in the description below. And it took me maybe half an hour to wire up. I didn't run into any significant problems. Now, like I said, I'll provide a link to the actual tutorial because they provide some alternatives for how this could be set up. For example, I'm just hooked to a power supply that's plugged into an outlet, to a standard outlet. And I have power going to my coop, so I can just do that. Now, that means that if the power goes out, then the door won't open and close. So some alternative wiring suggestions are to wire this up to a 12-volt battery that is either trickle recharged via actual electrical outlet, or maybe even a solar panel. So all those different wiring diagrams and suggestions are included in the link that I will provide. But I wanted to show you what I've done. Pretty straightforward. This is pretty ugly, but I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit before I put it outside. And I'm not a wiring master by any stretch of the imagination. I'm no electrician. I'm not even much of a sort of a physical engineer. But this is still pretty straightforward and pretty easy. So I'm going to go hook this up into the coop, and I will record that, and I will get back to you, and we will see how it goes. If you have any questions about this particular setup, again, follow the link. But if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. So out to the coop, right. All right, so I have the actuator installed. Now the first thing I've noticed, and it works, I did test it, caught some footage of it opening and closing, and I'll splice that in either somewhere in this video, probably start at the beginning of the video, so when people come to this video, they're not like, why is this person wasting our time? So here's some things. I got a 12-inch linear actuator, and So it only changes by 12 inches, and that's not a lot, particularly because the way I created this chicken door, it goes down into this little notch here, and I did that so predators couldn't like mess with the side of the door. It's kind of contained. But I essentially lose 4 inches here. So that's a potential problem. I'm going to see how the chickens do with this opening, because that's probably enough for them to get in and out. So I'll just keep an eye on them and see because if they can pull that off, no problem. Like, I don't have gigantic chickens or gigantic fowl. If I ever get larger, like turkeys or something in here, maybe I need to do something different. But really at the end of the day, it would probably just be removing those boards, digging that out, and just unscrewing where the top of the actuator is screwed to the board. Now, as you can see, ideally, I could have just taken this actuator and attached it to some point that's part of the structure of the building. That didn't work out because I really wanted the actuator to line up with the middle of the board. This is a 2x10, pressure treated 2x10. It was actually left over from when I built my long Langstroth beehive. And it's pretty heavy. That's why it's made a really great door. You see a lot of these Coop doors, especially the automatic Coop door kits you buy, and it's like just the tiniest thin little sheet of whatever material. I wanted a heavy door. I want this to be a bit of a fortress. And this actuator picks it up no problem. This actuator is actually rated for 225 pounds of lift or action, or I don't know what the terminology is, to be quite honest, but it maxes at 225 pounds. So to pick up this little piece of... Oh, that chicken came in. Hi there. Well, you're a brave one. So it works. It all works. I'm pretty happy with it, other than like this distance. And again, it might not be a problem. Okay, so that is one of my bigger chickens, and he had no problem getting through. So if he can get through, everyone should be fine. So I probably won't have to change anything. Now, there's a few things I need to just clean up in here. One, I didn't have a long enough cord. So first of all my electronic components, I just shoved in a Ziploc bag because I didn't have small screws to attach them to like a board or anything. So that's how they're going to be for now. It's not ideal. But what I wanted to do is take that mess and tuck it into the eave. Oops, sorry about that. Tuck it into the eave over there where I know it will be out of wind and rain and cold. So that's not an ideal position, but to connect the actuator, I didn't have enough wire to move over to extend this connection to be over there closer to the outlet. I tried to use some of this, I forget what they call it. It's for indoor 120 volt. It's pretty serious wire. This is from a wiring electric project inside that never came to fruition. So I have like hundreds of feet of this material. Fortunately, it didn't work out because it was just too much wire for this little thing. Because the wires inside of the actuator are very, very small, very, very thin wires, and it didn't really mesh well. I couldn't keep them connected. So I'll probably buy some longer wire so I can extend it and put it over, hide it in there. I'll also probably buy, while I'm at whatever store, I'll buy a little plastic container to put all the components in so they're a little bit more protected. But in general, I'm pretty happy. I have the timer set. So you can actually see the two timers right there. Again, one controls when it opens and one controls when it closes. So basically, the way the programming works for these is, for the open one, you have to set when the switch is open and when it closes. So it took, 30 seconds for the door to open, maybe longer. But I have this set so it will power the actuator to open or close for, I think, 5 minutes, just to make sure it closes and has enough time to open and close. Probably I could actually bring that down to more like a minute. But for now, that's what it is, and I'll see how it works. So basically, this has an on and off with a span of 5 minutes, and that has an on-off for a span of 5 minutes. So I give the actuator 5 minutes to fully open and fully close the door. So I have to say that I'm pretty happy in general, other than a few things I need to keep an eye on. Like, projects like this are just rife with the possibility of going horribly, horribly wrong. And this worked out really, really well, considering I've only put about an hour of work into this total, about half an hour, maybe a little bit more, to work out the circuit and to actually install this. It's pretty good. Maybe another half an hour. So I am all about, for those who haven't been to my channel, I'm all about automating, well, I call my fully automatic chickens. That's right. I like to automate as much of my homestead as I possibly can, wherever I can, to reduce the amount of work that I have to do on a daily basis. So I have the garbage can feeder that holds 125 pounds of food. I rarely have to fill it, and they just eat out of the bottom there. I have this watering system. I don't use this in winter because it would freeze and break, but during the warmer months of the year, this waters the chickens from actually a rain barrel outside that collects water that drips off the roof. So for my chickens, I have the water fully automated, the food fully automated, you know, more or less, and now opening and closing. And this is particularly interesting, or this will be particularly great for when I start free ranging them all, because then this will open and close. I won't have to worry about it. Yay. I like not having to worry about it. Less things to do. I have a lot of other stuff going on. I don't want to have to put too much time into my chickens. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about hooking this up, please be sure to ask in the comments. Yeah, and I think that's it. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me on this journey.